Alright guys, I'm going to go over a couple of the homework on the assignment of 5.2. So on this first one, when we're talking about point slope form, first thing you have to do is you have to know what the point slope formula is, which is y minus y1 is equal to m, and then in parentheses x minus x1. So this y1 and this x1, that's like as your ordered pair, your x comma y. So if we're looking at the y and it's a negative y, so looking at this formula, if it's anything, if it says y plus a number, that means that that y coordinate is actually going to be a negative y. And I'll show you what I mean. So when we're looking at this first one, we have a y minus 5. That means that x coordinate, or that y coordinate, is a positive 5. And then your x coordinate, since it's a plus 3, that means that's actually a negative 3. So we have the coordinate of negative 3 and then a positive 5. So then you're going to go to negative 3 and then up to 5. So that's your first dot. And then your second dot, you're just going to use your slope. So your slope is 1 over 2. So you're going to go up 1 and then to the right 2. So when you're looking at this equation right here given to you in point slope, you're going to look at the 5. And since it's a negative 5, it's really flip-flopped, and that's actually a positive 5. So your y coordinate is a 5 positive, and then our x, since it's a plus 3, it's really flip-flop, because when we go back to that formula right here, since it's a minus x, but in this case it was saying that it's a plus 3, that actually means it's a negative 3x. So that's how we got that first ordered pair as negative 3 and then positive 5. And then we just used our slope, which was a rise of 1, and then a run of 2. And remember, it's always up or down first, and since it's positive, it's up 1, and then it's always to the right. So we went to the right 2. That number 1 is the same as number 3. Okay, so you're doing the same thing. Your slope is a negative 1 over 4. And then your x-coordinate is actually at a positive 1. And then your y is at a negative 3. And then our slope was at down 1. And then to the right 4. So that's 20% of the assignment done. It's not going to take you too long to do those two problems. But let's look at number 2. Number 2 is similar to number 4. So we have a line that passes through the point 5, 6 and has a slope of 2. So for number 2, let's do that over here. We had 5, 6 and then a slope of 2. And then we're going to write the equation in point slope. So we got our point slope equation up here. I'm going to write the answer in blue. So you're going to start off by writing y, and then it's minus. Well, our y is 6, so it's going to be y minus 6 is equal to. And then now that m, remember that m stands for slope. So we're going to put, we just said our slope was 2, so you're going to put a 2 and then a parenthesis. And then it's x, and then it's minus, and then our x coordinate was 5, so it's x minus 5. That is what you would type in over on ALEKS. So you're just putting it into that point slope form. That's what you're doing for number 2 and for number 4. looking at number 5, now we're going to start talking about if the slope is, what would the slope be if you're looking at a parallel versus a perpendicular line. So remember those videos that I had y'all watch when I was out last week, talked about if, let's say you have, let's say you have a slope, let's say that slope is -2, okay? We got a slope of -2. If that line is parallel, that means that slope is also -2. If we're saying it's perpendicular, that's when it's not gonna be -2 again, but it's gonna be flipped. That's that opposite reciprocal. So instead of negative, it's gonna be a positive now. And instead of just 2, it's gonna be 1/2. So let's say I had a positive 2/3, for example, okay? For a parallel line, that's still 2/3 because it's the same thing. But if we're looking at a perpendicular line, okay, that's your opposite reciprocal. So we start with a positive. Now it's going to be a negative. So it's going to be a negative, but it's got a flip. So instead of 2/3, it is now 3/2. So that's what it's talking about, where you can tell if a line is parallel or perpendicular by looking at the slope. Because if you have the same slope, then that tells you that that is a parallel line, meaning that those lines are never going to touch. They're going to look like this, where they're the same distance apart and they never cross. Perpendicular, that's when they cross at a 90-degree angle. And it doesn't have to look perfectly like that. It can look like this as well. Or any way that you have a 90-degree angle. So if we look at this right here, it's a slope of a parallel line. So our slope on this line is 1/2. So if it's parallel, it's also just 1/2. And if it's perpendicular, that's that opposite reciprocal. So instead of 1/2 being positive, it's going to now be a negative because that's the opposite. And then 1/2 flip-flop would be 2/1, which is just 2. But you can't forget your negative. And then on number 6, you are going to have to put that into slope-intercept form first. So you're going to have to subtract an x and then divide by 3. And then you're doing the same thing as number 5. You just have to get it to where you can see what your slope is. And then number 7, again, you're just finding the slope. So on line 1, it says that the slope is 3/2. But do you see how on line 2 and line 3, it's not in slope-intercept form? So you're going to have to convert that and get y by itself. So on line number 2, you're going to have to divide everything by 2, which for line 2, it would be 3/2. So line 1 and line 2, that would be parallel because they both have a slope of 3/2. But if you look at line 3, you're going to have to subtract that 6x to the right side, and then you're going to have to divide by -4. So there's a little bit more that you would have to do to find what the slope is for line 3. But this is all stuff that we did last unit, so this shouldn't be too difficult. You might just need to go ahead and get out a piece of paper or something to write on while you're doing this, because that's going to be how you're going to be able to see what that slope is to be able to compare it. Then don't forget, you can always click over here where the explanation is to get an explanation to the problem if you're a little bit confused. Or they also have examples that you can click on as well. And it tells you step by step how to solve them. So like on this one right here, again, we know how to find slope. That's your y2 minus your y1 over x2 minus x1. So you're going to be doing, let's say on this first one, okay, 8 minus 4, so that's going to be 4. And then -3 minus 0 is going to be -3. So then therefore you have your slope of 4 over -3, which you could just put your negative in front of your 4. And then that would be your slope for line 1. So you're just going to have to do that for line 2 and line 3. You're going to have to use that slope formula like that we did for this last unit in Module 4. And then you, based off of what line 1, line 2, and line 3 slopes are, that's going to tell you, are they parallel, are they perpendicular, or is it neither? So that's when you're looking at to see if they have the same slope, that means they're parallel, or if they have opposite reciprocals, that means that they're perpendicular. And then number 9 and number 10, these are both review problems from Module 4. So like on number 10, you're just putting your y-intercept at 7, and then your slope is down 5 and to the right 1, and you would use, obviously, your tools to do that. So at +7 is your y-intercept, and then your slope is you're going to go down 5, and then it's to the right 1. And then for number 9, that is where you're going to have to use, instead of it given to you ordered pairs, your x's are your time in weeks, and then your y is your length in kilometers. And on this one, it says to write a linear equation. So that's going to be your y equals, okay? Y equals and then we can see that since our x is at 0, that means our y-intercept's at 10. So you can go ahead and put the 10 there. That's your y-intercept. It's going to be plus. If I can find the plus button. So y equals, and then we need our slope. So from 0 to 1, okay, how much did your y go up? So it went from 10 to 20, then from 20 to 30. That means it's going up 10 each time. So not only is your y-intercept at 10, but your slope is also 10. And then don't forget to put your x next to it. Okay? So that was a quick review over your looking at your slope, seeing what's parallel, what's perpendicular, and how do we know. And then also going over point slope. Okay? So if you need a review over point slope, look at those videos that are in Canvas. But this video right here is going to help you with your 5.2 assignment. This needs to be done, okay, on your Tuesday. This is your Tuesday AMI assignment. So use this video to help you. And if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email and let me know. All right, see you guys.